How do you start lying? Lying is easy. You only need a few words. Although no words are the best, because the best lies are expressed in the fewest words. But lies don't start when they're told. Even the most innocent lie, like that of children, does not happen without fathers or mothers. In general, it begins somewhere. You won't do this. My wife of 7 years chuckled, and I began to wonder how well her professional career was going. Being a trained therapist herself, although not smart or motivated enough to become a psychiatrist, I would suggest that her understanding of this situation was more valid. Here is a man of wealth and status, standing naked on a $2,000 sofa. Next to him on the floor is a red canister of gasoline, emptied just a few minutes ago. His clothes are neatly folded on the table in front of him, with his cell phone next to them. He holds in his hand a pack of cheap matches that he can light at any moment and turn the room into a blazing inferno. To any outsider, it would have been an absurd scene. She, wrapped in a fur shawl and evening dress, at the door, and he, naked, only holding a matchbox in his hands. And yet she does not see the horror of this situation, my situation. This is an ornate library that we built, decorated, and kept together. This is the most beautiful part of the whole house, with 2 floors of books and furniture, as well as bay windows through which you can see the sunrise on one side and the sunset on the other. It is like a heart in which we put all our treasures, all our memories, all our secrets. Oh, I will do it with pleasure, with great pleasure. I told her this, matching her grin with the same devastation, and shook the matchbox in my hand. I would rather burn this whole house to the ground than leave any of this to you. Then I saw something like recognition in her eyes. It was a distant recognition, perhaps playing with the idea of a minor memory. Perhaps it was recognition of the room in which we were both standing, or perhaps it was a fleeting recognition of my body, which she once knew better than I, now naked and slick with gasoline, glistening in the soft light of the room. Perhaps she was drunk. She told me that evening she had attended a gala, or a social event, or some other rich save-something event. Whatever she learned in that moment changed her. "John," she whispered, "this is not how we should discuss this. Please, put down the matches. Tell me, Andrea, tell me where you were tonight." I held the match to the striped box, showing her how serious I was. She took this as an invitation to enter the room, extending her arms towards me as if trying to calm me down, as if I, her husband, were one of her patients. She continued to move towards me, like Cruella de Vil, cornering a helpless Dalmatian. "I know where you were," I told her as she took another step closer. "I know where you're going. To that bar. I know you're going with him. I know what you're doing. John, you need to put down the matches so we can talk." She spoke again and took a few more steps towards me, her eyes darting to the matchbox. Her voice was soothing. No matter how it looked, I wasn't crazy. I knew everything. I knew that she was having a particularly torrid affair with a doctor at the hospital where she worked. I knew his name was Conrad, and I knew his address. I knew his wife was Pepper, and his daughters Maggie and Sophie. I knew they had met at the Red Herring, a respectable bar for married singles looking to break their ominous marriage vows. I knew that in 7 years of marriage, she had been faithful to me for 2 years. I knew that she loved him, and I knew that she was planning to leave me very soon. Just tell me why," I demanded in the most desperate tone. "It's okay, Johnny," she whispered to me, moving closer and closer. She was close enough to touch. "It's okay. Just put it down and we'll talk, okay? I'll tell you everything you want to know." At least she was pleasant to listen to. I looked far behind her, into the empty black bay window. It was dark outside. Only one street was lit, somewhere far, far away. There was no moon, no stars, and suddenly there was a glimmer of light, a sign, and I knew exactly what needed to be done. "No!" I shouted, scaring her. She was less than a meter away from me and lunged at me with uncanny skill. Andrea grabbed me by the waist and pushed me to the floor. The matches flew out of my hands and skidded across the carpet, out of my immediate reach. I scratched and kicked her, and she scratched my naked body. I could smell the alcohol coming from her as she wrestled with me on the ground. I managed to slip out from under it for a moment and rushed to the matches. Every second she was scratching and hitting my body, trying to gain an advantage. She was much stronger than I imagined, or perhaps she was just experiencing a much stronger adrenaline rush than I was. In the chaos of the struggle, amid a flurry of blows and scratches, and I think there was even a bite, she knocked me to the floor again. She sat on top of me, trying to tie my hands with a nearby electrical cord. I felt the burning of my skin in the places where she scratched my body. My nose was bleeding, and I could already feel bruises forming on my body from falling to the floor. "Help! Help!" I shouted as she picked up the matches and rose to her feet so that I could not reach her. "Help me!" I heard the patter of footsteps and the screams of distant figures. I shouted louder, "She's going to kill me! Killing!" I looked at Andrea, my sweet wife, and our eyes met. She finally understood what I did. My glance at the floor, the smell of gasoline, and the sound of gunfire erases the memory of what happened next. All that becomes clear to me in the next moment is my wife, my dear wife, lying calmly and motionless on the gasoline-soaked carpet. Her mouth is slightly open. Her outstretched hand clutches an open book of burgundy matches. On the inside it says, Conrad, 347, 551205, and on the outside, Red Herring Grill Bar. Oh, my dear wife, you should know that I think about you often. I keep your matchbox in the corner of our library. This place is like a heart, my love. This is the place where we keep all our treasures and our memories. This is the place where we keep all our secrets. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.